Good morning, everyone. This is our third Ed Forum of this actually new school year with that. Joan, would you go to the next slide for that? We want to thank you for attending with it. We have some helpful hints with it. If you have questions during any of the presentations, please put those in the question and answer box with it. You can use the chat feature if you're having technical difficulty, and we will be answering the questions as we go forward. I will remind people that we do record all of these sessions, and they are archived on the Next Steps website. You will need to give us several days. It usually takes 3 to 4 days for us to get all of that done and placed on the Next Steps website. With that, you can find it under the for educators and in one of the directory pages that are there. So we want to say thanks again for you to be here. And Sarah has just put in the archives for you to see. Joan, next slide. All right, we're going to start out with FAFSA Web today with it. And we are asking you to take part in a poll. Joan, you want to hit the slide with the poll? All right. Please take just a moment and fill this out for us. We'll be sharing this information with you also. Just a way for us to get some feedback from you. So we'll give you just a quick minute to take care of it. Let us know if you have a FAFSA Web account and which of the following ways you might be accessing FAFSA Web. So go right ahead, and if you can answer the questions number 2, then we would appreciate that also. So Joan, I'm going to ask you to go to the next slide as they keep on filling out the poll. FAFSA Web .boardofed.Idaho.gov is a way for you to get important information for this year. If you have not registered and do not have an account, you will need to click on the button in the top right under Register. Next. John. And you will need to complete this registration form there. If you already have a FAFSA account and have forgotten the password, you can use the password retrieval with that. We are asking you to make certain you read all the documents that are on there that have to do with the privacy of the information that is on FAFSA Web. Next slide. So this is a quick look of the information that you will be able to access on FAFSA Web. This is student by students, all the students that we have that we know that are at your school. You'll be able to see if they have completed a FAFSA, any basic details with it, and the date that FAFSA has been completed. The 4th column indicates whether or not FAFSA has selected a student for verification. If they have been selected for verification, the best help you can get is at a college or university financial aid website. The following column is the direct admissions letter. This is very important to you for this year, and we'll explain that in the Apply Idaho. At this column, you will be able to see which letter the students will receive for direct admissions, either the letter of 8 or the letter of 6. This will let you know when a student logs on to Apply Idaho, that is the letter that will show up. Following that column, it will indicate whether or not a student has used Apply Idaho and which colleges or universities that they have selected. There's also a column for the Opportunity Scholarship, the Governor's Cup, and the Gear Up Scholarship. All of this information can be exported, and we are pleased to report that 63% of you already have a FAFSA Web account, and we appreciate that. Also, the results that you see will also show up in the archive information. So, Joan, next slide. We will have a downloadable FAFSA Web PDF that'll give you a step-by-step instructions that'll be posted on the Next Steps website either tomorrow or on Monday. We, like all of you, are working as quickly as we can to get information up for that. To find the FAFSA Web on the Next Steps website, click on the For Educator box with it. And then you'll be able to select FAFSA Completion Portal. Click on that box, and that will provide you the links that are needed to get you into FAFSA Web, to get you to the point where you could register for an account, and also to get you to the point for you to be able to access student information. Questions and answers during this time.
Byron, we had a couple questions about how to access FAFSA Web. So Joan has answered those, as well as I have answered those in the Q&A under answered questions. Mallory does have a question about, does anyone have any best practice advice on how to host a FAFSA completion event in a safe manner now that we're under COVID-19?
All right. And if you would like to type in an answer, we'll make sure that we get that to Mallory also. The questions, answers are also will be available in the archive materials with that. And I appreciate Sarah and Joan answering those questions during the times that we have there. All right, Joan, next is Apply Idaho. We're going to give you a little bit more information about Apply Idaho and the direct admissions with the important dates. Now, we want you to take an Apply Idaho poll. Take just a moment for that. First question, please indicate how you're going to support students' use of Apply Idaho for this year. We know that these things might change with it, but let us know if you're planning to have events in person or virtually. And then question number 2, if you answered virtually, please let us know all of the following methods you plan to use. And I'm sure everyone will be really pleased to hear the results from there. All right, Joan, you want to go to our next slide? We have on our next slide 2 important dates marked off for you. First of all, September 15th. On September 15th, students will be able to log on to Apply Idaho, create an account, and see their letter that they would get for direct admissions. The reason we are opening that on September 15th is to give students some time to think about their options before actually starting Apply Idaho. We know many of the students missed typical activities in the springtime. Students will only be able to create an account and see the letter that they would receive. They will be able to print that letter also. They will not be able to start Apply Idaho. That will not open until October 1st. October 1st, if they want to launch into Apply Idaho and make selections of schools, they will need to log on with their information and their passwords. A reminder that Apply Idaho is open until June 30th with that. We also have some important information because as you will hear later on, you will hear about our virtual college fair, which is one of those resource exploration activities that students can take part of. You see the sample letters of the group of 6 and the group of 8 with that. This information is available in English and Spanish. It should be on the Next Steps website here within the hour. We will be sending out a news flash next week that has this information along with the Spanish translation for the direct admissions letter. Next slide. On the Next Steps website, you will see how to apply. Note on that landing page, there's also a box that allows you to sign up for the Next Steps newsletter. If you haven't done that, that's a really important way for you to get information and news flashes with that. You can subscribe to that email list with it, and you can get the updates on Idaho's colleges and universities on that page. Next slide. This shows you that during the first 3 months are pretty critical for students to try to begin to think about how they can begin to make selections on what their plans for after high school are and how to apply for college. Remember, students can go back onto Apply Idaho and add additional schools as they think about that. In October last year, we had over 10,000 students take part of it. We know this is a very, very different year, and I also know that students may be taking their time in trying to make decisions about plans for next fall. A reminder is that they also have some upcoming priority deadlines to keep in mind as they begin to move forward. Also, as it relates to Apply Idaho, we are creating a brand new user video that will explain how to use Apply Idaho. That video will be on the Next Steps website on the Apply Idaho page. It's a video for students and also for adults and parents. It can be, the URL can be clipped and sent out to students if you are adding those information to students virtually. All right, are there any questions for Apply Idaho that we have here? We have one open question. I know Apply Idaho opens October 1st for a school that has over 500 seniors. Can it open earlier? No. We have accommodated that in the past. We're unable to accommodate that for this year, partially because we'll be running a virtual college fair. And that virtual college fair is September 29th, 30th, and October 1st with it. So, the poll results we have is 67% are hoping to provide support to students in person, 33% virtually, and majority are planning to do classroom groups with it. So we appreciate that information, and I will turn it over next to the other one. How can we get a download of the letters to mail out if our district wants to do that? The way to do that is to download the information from FAFSA Web, export it into a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet with that. You will see which letter the students have, the letter of 6 or the letter of 8, and those letters are available in facsimile form on the Next Steps website. The last question is, can students use a Common App? For any of the colleges that accept a Common App, that's absolutely, very acceptable. That would be up to you and the students. Thank you. Next, we have scholarships. Unmute, Joy.
I thought I unmuted myself. I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm going to talk about scholarships that will be opening in less than a month, hopefully. So can we go to the next slide and get started? And I apologize. My name is Joy Miller. I'm the Scholarships Program Manager at the Office of the State Board of Education. And so I'm going to talk about Opportunity and a couple of our other programs. So what you see now is the Idaho Opportunity Scholarship. This should open up in early October. Most of you are probably familiar with this, but still, it's up to $3,500 a year for 4 years. Applicants have to be an Idaho resident who graduated from an Idaho high school, homeschool, or its equivalent. And by its equivalent, we mean GED or high school equivalency. You must have a minimum unweighted GPA of a 2.7 to apply. And students are selected based on a formula, which is 70% need, which we use the EFC from the FAFSA, the expected family contribution. And it's then based on 30% merit, which is that GPA. If there is a GED student applying, they must take the ACT or SAT, but I'm not sure what discussions are going to be around that given the current situation. The deadline for the application and the FAFSA is March 1st. So they do have about 5 months to get this all in. Can we go to the next slide? All right. So our next one is the Post-Secondary Credit Scholarship. And this is for students who've earned at least 10 post-secondary credits while attending high school. They must have graduated high school at an Idaho high school 2016 or later. And they must use this scholarship within 4 years of their high school graduation. So actually, if they graduated in 2016, it looks like their time to apply for this has just expired. There are 3 levels of this scholarship. So if a student's earned 10 to 19 credits, they can be matched of up to $2,000 over 2 years or $1,000 a year. And if they've earned 20 or more credits, they can be matched up to $4,000 a year, $4,000 or $2,000 a year. And if they've earned an associate's degree or its equivalent, they can be matched up to $8,000 or $4,000 a year for 2 years. So this is a matching scholarship program. So students or applicants must have another scholarship that is competitive and merit-based from a business or industry. So competitive, meaning it's open to anybody to apply who's eligible. Merit-based, meaning it has a minimum GPA or test score. And it must come from a business, or it must be an industry scholarship, meaning it must be for a specific major. It can't come from a college or university foundation unless it's specifically outlined to be a match for this scholarship. Amanda Craig in our office is actually handling the applications for this. And so there is her email right there. Can I go to the next slide? So the Governor's Cup Scholarship and post-secondary credit, it will be up with Opportunity. All these scholarships, except for this Governor's Cup, should be open in October along with Opportunity. So the Governor's Cup, there are 2 different types of Governor's Cup. There's academic for those students going into academic programs for up to 4 years, or for 4 years. It's for graduating seniors of Idaho high schools. And historically, the emphasis has been on public service, but the last few years, they've started asking if students have any barriers to going on to higher ed, or if there's any reason why they couldn't work while in high school, like did they have a job or did they have to take care of family? But there is a lot of entries for students who do have public service, and there is a short essay with this one. It requires a minimum 2.8 GPA, and the deadline for this one is February 15th, but it is $3,000 a year for up to 4 years, so it's a pretty decent scholarship. They have a career technical type of scholarship, which is $3,000 a year for up to 3 years. It's for graduating seniors of Idaho high schools or first-year college students in a career technical program. And like the academic Governor's Cup, there is a short essay and there is that emphasis on public service. But they do ask the same questions. It's just what type of program are you going into? The deadline for this one is a little bit later. It's April 15th. And this one typically opens in early November, but I can work and see if we can get this opened up a little bit earlier. This one, we help the committee with their applications, but once we help them bring in applications, they can go to Idaho.Governors.Org at the bottom of the slide for more information about if they were selected, or if they are selected, where their funds are going. So it's kind of interesting. We kind of hand off the baton to them once we take in the applications. So next, thank you, Jenna. So applying for state programs, as I said before, the application will open in early October. We are going to be taking it down next week and for the next few weeks after that. So if you have any students who are late in applying for post-secondary credit and happen to maybe come to you, we are going to be taking it down so that we can do some site maintenance. But it will be right back up again in early October. We ask that when students apply this year, not to use a high school email address. That's something we've always said. We don't recommend it. We typically get bounce back from high school issued email addresses. Students are going to need their social security number and their cumulative GPA. They are going to need their EDU ID. It's not a required field, but it is very helpful if they have that EDU ID. The application closes March 1st, and we notify students via email if they are waitlisted or if they are selected, and then they can respond or not respond from there. But we use email as our way to notify students because it's just me and Amanda, and we have thousands and thousands of applicants, so it's a little tough. And don't stop with state scholarships. When students are applying for scholarships, there are a ton of scholarships out there. We have a listing on Next Steps, and we also have some other websites beyond Next Steps where they can go and look for scholarships. I mean, and we direct students to their high school counselor, to their college or university foundation. So there's a lot of different resources out there. And we do have a scholarship tracker. I can put the email in the chat, or in the, in the chat. But on our Next Steps site, there is a nice Excel worksheet where they can track all of their scholarships and keep up with the deadlines and the contact, and so they can stay organized. And yeah, so let's see, do we have some questions here?
Well, you have tons of questions.
Oh.
Do you know how many, there was a question about how many students might have received the post-secondary credit scholarship this past year?
I don't know if Amanda is on.
I think she's not. We'll have to post that one here in a minute. Is there new information, Joy, or whether or not the SAT or ACT will be required for the Opportunity Scholarship?
It's not required for anybody besides the people who just have a GED. If you only have a GED and no college classes, that's the only way you need the ACT or SAT for Opportunity. So, but I don't know, Sarah, we would probably have to see if we need to initiate that discussion to see if something needs to be done about that. So that's probably like a TBD type situation. So what about adults who graduated from an Idaho high school or got their GED but never attended college? Do they need to take the SAT? So if they graduated from an Idaho high school, we would use that GPA from when they graduated from an Idaho high school. But again, if it's just a GED and no college classes, then they would need to take the SAT or ACT, but again, we would have to actually have that discussion since given the current situation. None of our scholarships can be used for colleges out of state, including Governor's Cup. I didn't address that. I'm very sorry. All of our scholarships must be used in an eligible Idaho college or university. And state programs deadlines. So if this is referring to Opportunity, the deadline for Opportunity is March 1st. Post-secondary credit is a rolling deadline. And the Governor's Cup is, the academic is February 15th and the CTE is April 15th. And what other, oh, and then, yeah. So did I get all the questions? Yeah, it looks like I did.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on. Joy, if you could just keep answering any of the questions that are about scholarships live in the Q&A box, that would be great. Thank you.
I certainly will. I'm more than happy to answer anything. Thank you.
So now we're going to talk about our inaugural Next Steps Idaho Virtual College Fair. Go ahead, Joan, and move to the next slide. So when a student enters the college fair, this is what the info area will look like. They'll be able to go and talk to an info desk. They'll have the exhibit hall where we'll have all of our public and private institutions will have a booth, and they'll have an auditorium where they can go and listen to live and recorded webinars. Go ahead and move to the next one, please. So this is what the booth area will look like. A student will enter into the booth area, and each of these will represent one of our colleges or universities. We'll also have a Next Steps Idaho booth if they have any questions about searching for scholarships or doing Apply Idaho or things like that. And then next, and this will be the auditorium. This is where they'll come to listen to any of those live or recorded webinars that will be produced by our colleges and our universities. So I'm going to give you a quick preview. If Joan could stop sharing, and I will share my screen. This is going to be our landing page and registration page for the Next Steps Idaho Virtual College Fair. We are still working on some of the little kinks in it, so it's not live yet, but we will send you a news flash as soon as the registration and landing page are open. So a student would come here and click to register, and then this would be where they would return to actually enter the career fair. And they can join us anytime between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. Again, they will be able to chat live with our Idaho colleges and universities. They'll be able to stop by a Next Steps booth, and we will be having a scavenger hunt to encourage them to visit as many booths as possible. And each of the institutions are providing some giveaways for those who are our top scavenger hunt winners. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Joan can go back. So that was a really quick preview of our virtual college fair. Are there questions about the college fair?
Sir, I would just like to say in next week's news flash, the counselors will find out how to register and register their students with that. We have a few more details to work out, but we'll be providing that information to you in next week.
Great. So I did see that there's a question about grade levels for the college fair. The college fair is open to any Idaho student. We definitely are encouraging you to have your seniors and your juniors attend the college fair. If you're a Gear Up school, Gear Up is one of our sponsors of the event, and they'll be coordinating with you to have your Gear Up students attend. But if you have some younger students, we do encourage you, because of the COPA and FERPA regulations, that they would need to have a parent help register them for this event.
Also, Sarah, parents are welcome to attend the virtual college fair also. That's one of the reasons we extended the hours with that. They can do that along with their student or separately during the time that's there.
And again, the virtual college fair will be September 29th, 30th, and October 1st, and it will be open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The colleges will have live presenters and as well as live one-on-one conversations with students or in small groups to answer any questions they may have about their institutions.
Also, any recorded videos will be available to be viewed on command for 30 days following the last college fair event, October 1st.
Right. So there was a question about, do students have to pre-register? They do not have to pre-register, but we would encourage them to, because if they pre-register, they can participate in the scavenger hunt. Everyone who is a registered participant has a kind of downloadable folder where if they are visiting different booths that have information that they'd like to download and save at a later time, they'll be able to have access to that. And if they'd like to share their contact information to have follow-up conversations with those institutions, that's how the institution would be able to reach out to them through their registration email. Okay, next up is our college application month. We are working with IACRO this year. If there's the next slide. We would ask that you can please complete this survey. If you're on our Next Steps newsletter list, IACRO is sending out a survey to find out how you are looking for help this year, whether or not you're going to have an in-person event, whether you're going to have virtual events. So we really encourage you to complete this survey for IACRO so that they know how best to help you and your school support students through the application process this year. And we will be putting this URL to the Google Doc survey in the chat feature so you can access that today. Also, we would encourage you that if you are going to host an event, that you let us at the State Board office know. We do participate in a nationwide college application month with other states. And so being able to provide and share out where Idaho's at with our applications is super important. So Joan, could you go to the next slide? So if you are going to participate, if you could let us know, and then how many, capture the information about how many seniors you have in your class this year, how many of them have completed at least one application, how many total applications do you have submitted for your school, and then how many of them are in-state versus out-of-state. That would be super helpful to us, and you can just email that to info@NextSteps.Idaho.gov. Also, in Next Steps month, if you're needing help to plan any of your events, we do have a resource page called Next Steps month geared directly toward counselors. We have a Take 5 page, which are activities that you can have your students do throughout the month to be prepared for going on to college. And we are working with IACRO to create a Next Steps month student focus page where they'll be able to do some in-depth research on all of the colleges and institutions. And we're also looking at the possibility of having students be able to individually sign up for support from an institution of their choice. So any questions about college application month? I'm not seeing any. Byron, are you seeing any questions?
I'm not. I'm typing furiously with that. So we'll keep it going. But yes, thank you. I don't see any.
Okay. So Joan, we can go on.
Excellent. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about Why Apply, which hopefully most of you have already heard of. In 2017, the State Board of Education participated in this initiative called the American College Application Campaign. Specifically, it was known by the hashtag Why Apply and the visuals that you can see on the screen right now. Basically, you would hold up this printable PDF, you would write why you applied, why you wanted to continue your education, and then you would post that on social media. So in 2017, the governor, it was then Governor Otter, took a photo and he wrote something and it just kind of blew up is overstating it, but it garnered a lot of attention, particularly from surrounding states and our counterpart agencies in different states. And it created a ton of momentum on social media. So we're encouraging everyone to think about using this platform again. So the American College Application Campaign is a national initiative to increase the number of first-generation and low-income students applying to and pursuing higher education, which we wholeheartedly support, but we also expanded it to everyone, really. So even if you're not within those groups, we still think it's a great way to create some hype about going on. This is what the PDF looks like, very basic. And within the next week, we hope to add it to the Next Steps Idaho website on the college application page that Sarah briefly mentioned. And we hope that you guys take advantage of it and also encourage your students to do this, particularly because we're so distanced right now and it's so difficult to create that excitement and like to really celebrate how big of an accomplishment this is and the ambition. So really, if you could push this, we think it would be a great cause. Any questions? Excellent. So we're gonna round out this education discussion forum with a couple of other events that are coming up. Both are entirely virtual. Sarah, I'm gonna kick this back to you if that works.
Sure. So we just wanted to remind everybody that next week is the State Department's College and Career Readiness Summit. If you haven't registered, it's a $25 fee. We have the registration link that we'll add here to the chat. Byron and I will be presenting a deep dive walkthrough of the new and improved Next Steps Idaho website, and we'll also be leading a hallway chat. So we encourage each of you who might be able to attend to join us for those two events, as well as the entire College and Career Readiness Summit. Go ahead next. And then finally, coming up on October 7th, the Workforce Development Council has been putting on an Age of Agility conference. This is the third year. The great thing about this year is it is open to everybody. It's a free event. The governor will be one of the highlighted speakers. And it is all about workforce and education and talking about the future of Idaho's workforce and how education and workforce development and employers can all work together to get the state to where we want to be in terms of our workforce. So we'd encourage you to register for that, and we'll type in the Eventbrite registration into the chat. And I think there's some additional questions that have come in general. So let's go ahead and open it up for some Q&A. So there was a question about the Why Apply t-shirts and other materials. At this time, we do not have any other marketing materials besides the PDF that a student can use to take a photo for their social media. But that is a good idea. We'll look into that for next year if funding allows. I see there's a couple questions about the Go On dashboard that we'll have to get back with you on, and we'll include that in our Q&A in terms of when the class of 2020 data will be posted, and as well as why it's not sorted alphabetically or by district number. So there's a question about the virtual college fair. So all of our institutions, all our 2- and 4-year institutions will be there. And so yes, CTE programs will be represented. We do not have the military or any private institutions beyond College of Idaho, Northwest Nazarene, BYU Idaho, and Boise Bible College attending our fair.
On the questions on the Go On dashboard, we will refer those directly to Brianna Krebs, who will be able to answer those questions, John, and we look forward to that. There have been some very general questions. I just would like this to say, check the information that's in the question and answer with that. We do know that we do know that some of the colleges and universities are currently reviewing a requirement for scholarships that has students take an SAT, ACT test. Those decisions are made at each institution, and we understand each of those are making those decisions in the very nearest future. Some have made a decision either today or maybe even yesterday. As soon as that information gets to the state board office, we will include it in the news flash, but also we'd encourage you to sign up for the Counselor's Day Tour from IACRO, where all the institutions will be sharing that type of information also. The question is, LCSC attending the virtual college fair? The answer is yes for that. And there's a question about a link to register for something October 7th. I'm not sure what October 7th question
For
is.
Age of Agility, and yes, we will copy and paste that into the chat here shortly. I'm responding to one question and then I will paste it in.
Yes.
So I just pasted it. I'll do it again for sure. But if you scroll up, you might be able to see it. We'll do this one more time. Can you guys see that in the chat? It's in the Eventbrite link.
Okay, we have a question again about how to access these recordings. Joan or Sarah, you want to go over access to the archives and things?
Sure, I can take that. So I'm going to stop sharing this PowerPoint and we'll switch over to the live site. And, or can you guys see this? Is that showing up on the shared screen? Byron?
It does, yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So this is the Next Steps website. You're going to go to the hamburger menu up in the top right. You're going to click on that. You're going to go to For Educators. You're going to click on Educator Communications and Curriculum Archive. Just for reference, when Byron was talking about the FAFSA Web, it's called the FAFSA Completion Portal, and you just click right here and it will take you to that how-to document, which will be posted tomorrow or Monday. But right now, to get the updates and all the archives for these education discussion forums, you're going to hit Get Updates. And this takes you to everything that the outreach team pushes out. So we have the newsletters. This is our most recent edition. We have news flashes, which I would be surprised if we didn't send at least 2 in September, what with the Apply Idaho how-to video and the virtual college fair. There's just like a lot of good stuff going on. So that stuff will show up here. And then to answer your guys' questions, this is where we put information about the forums. And then within these minutes, we have the Q&A transcript. And then we also link to the webinar recording or the PowerPoint. And if there's multiple PowerPoints, we'll usually do so within these minutes. Any questions about that?
So there's lots of questions about registering students for the virtual college fair. That registration isn't open yet. We will be sending that information out in a newsflash. It'll also be on the Next Steps website. The registration for that will come out to you, and students will be able to register in advance for that. Remember, registration is not required. However, we would encourage students to register for that. Parents can also register, or parents can also attend the virtual college fair. Okay. You guys have been very, very active on the Q&A. We appreciate that very much with it. And we have experienced something we have never experienced with these ed forums, and that is that we ended early with that. And so we're going to keep the question and answers open for a while. We do want to encourage you to also take the IACRO survey that was in the newsletter. We'll be pushing that out again also. Okay. Joan, you want to explain your last chat that you put up there?
Yeah, so I'm so sorry. You guys were absolutely right. We were sharing it, I was sharing it in the wrong place. So I think I finally got that right. And hopefully you guys can now see the Age of Agility link, the College and Career Readiness link, that iACROS survey link. And then I was just about to share the link for where this information will be posted after this meeting. And then for the October 7th thing, that's the Age of Agility, and it should be in the chat now. Also, Heather has a question about a search button on the Next Steps website. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. So this is the website. Right now, if you go to, again, the menu, and then you go to Information Center and you select Resource Library, you have a search here, and it indexes like most of the website, and definitely all the stuff that was on the previous NextSteps.Idaho website. We're also in the process of adding a spyglass up here in this general vicinity, where we will hopefully, where we're gonna have a search that goes through the entire website. So look for that in the next couple of weeks. Great question, thank you.
All right. It looks like we may have cleared most, all of the questions with that. Just wanted to tell everyone, thank you very much for all the things that you do for our students. We know that there are many questions that are still remain unanswered at your district level and across the state. We will do our very best to communicate to you as quickly as we get information. That's why it's important for you to sign up for the Next Steps newsletter and the news flashes with it. We have a question about sending out marketing materials with that. We don't have an answer for you at this point about marketing materials. There's still a lot of things for us to look at and to try to plan forward, not only for the upcoming events, but also for training for the new Next Steps expanded audience with that. We appreciate your understanding as we move forward. Thanks.